One, two, three, 1, 2, 3,
1, 2, 6, 1, 2, 6.
and welcome back to the third episode of Fatherly Love podcast. For the listeners, Raiko is currently showing off his cool hoodie. You
Yeah,
can't really
one
hear
of my
that.
favorite hoodies.
um,
You wouldn't think that I'm a dad. You would think I'm a kid, child, children. But yeah,
we love our things.
thanks.
Things. So today we
Yeah,
have a couple of interesting topics to talk about. We're, as always, going to start with a story from our childhood or something that had a big impact on us when we were growing up. Raiko has his hand up high, and I think he has an idea. So let's see what he
yeah.
says.
Yeah. Uh, so the thing with our things why we love them is obviously because when we were kids, we were not having that many stuff. I would say you would always, get stuff from someone and just kind of inherit it. I wouldn't say that we were not having like nothing, but you couldn't pretty much basically provide something brand new for yourself. So I will never forget when I first went to United States in my work and travel program. Dude, that was crazy. Like we were in Atlantic City, right in the middle of the city, the Tiger Outlets Mall. I would just go there in between shifts and I was working 3 jobs at one point. And when I had the free time, I would just go there and wander. And, I can remember a couple of times I would just come back with hands full of bags. So I don't know what, like that was a problem. And, I continued that way. And now before I moved to Canada, we went to a flea market and I'm so sad that we don't have a photo of that, but we put two big tables and all my clothes were there and it was not enough space. We were having things on the ground, my shoes and stuff. And I looked at it and I was like, that's all mine. So my clothes. You have like people next to me that are selling like used secondhand clothes and they have less stuff than I have. I was like, dude, that's like, no, nope, no, no, not gonna happen. So yeah, I still love my stuff, but kind of trying to be more normal.
Conscious. Yeah, and that's a big plus on my side because I always had the privilege of getting stuff that Raiko would either get or buy, and I would get to use it. So I don't have as much of a um, issue with buying stuff. Although there are certain things that I indulge more than I probably should, like eating out, buying snacks, like that's
Games.
video games. Yeah, that's another thing. Like growing up, like especially in Eastern Europe, you can't necessarily just go out and buy a video game and be like, oh, it's $60, right? It's not that big of a deal. Because back home you would have to work for a week for it. So you would think twice before you would just go out and buy a video game. So you would only have either free to play stuff or you would have things that are on sale. But yeah, definitely something that left a mark on us when we were kids. And so people don't get it wrong. We always had clothes, we always had food. We grew up poor in a sense of we didn't have those little extra things, right? Um,
Yeah.
and we would always have like really nice gifts for Christmas, for Easter, for our birthdays. Uh, Raiko's making faces because he probably remembers it differently, but
Well, I remember like 95, 96. There was like and I mean, that was a terrible time to be there, we would wait for milk. And I remember when I was really, really like small, I would say young, uh, we were waiting for milk. So you wait in a row in front of the store and you just hope that there will be milk. And you couldn't buy more than one pack of milk. So
yeah,
that was a recession. That was a pretty bad time to be
yeah.
anywhere. So I mean in Serbia. So yeah, I remember these times. There were not happy times.
Yeah. So there was, for people that don't know, there was hyperinflation that basically happened over a course of a couple of days, and people that had their life savings, people that had anything in terms of cash savings, it was gone overnight. Like something would be
Yep.
worth 100 dinars, and next thing you know, it's worth 2 billion dinars and
Yeah. Yeah.
millions of dinars, which it
Yeah,
was
we had
insane.
we had banknotes that were like you have like you couldn't literally fit in that many zeros.
Yep,
Like,
yep. So, and if you guys don't know, Raiko is 6 years older than me, so he did go through some periods that I didn't, and he went through, his teenage years at a point where things were kind of getting better, and I was just understanding the world because I
and
was
as a first child, you always go through that stress of parents. Oh, what are we gonna do? Oh, we don't want to make a mistake, and everything has to be perfect, and everything has to be fine. And then the other kid comes and he just grins and gets everything he wants. So, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the second kid is more like you let him out and you just say he'll survive, he'll be fine. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, my our mom always used to tell me like you can't just put a smile on and get whatever you want. But for a good chunk of things, I did do that, and I did get away with a
Oh,
lot of things.
pretty much you got away with all the things with them. That worked.
Probably, yeah, yeah. Even though there were horrible times with the economic crash in 2008. That's a whole other story. We're gonna talk about
Yeah.
in a future episode. But uh, we had a decent childhood when it comes to having things. It's just that we always clinged on to, but why can't we have that? There was always that little
Well,
extra. And
well, I would say that we just had like very very happy and joyful childhood. We were oftentimes going to our grandparents and during summer and winter vacations and everything, and that was like amazing for me. Those were the best times, when you would go there and just have fun with them. And especially, there was a period of time when my teenage years, when I was growing up, and my puberty started, and I didn't get along well with my dad. I mean, if we look at that, my puberty is not over yet, but yeah, never mind. But yeah, it was we're just having a difficult relationship where we just can't find this similar um, I would say, wavelengths on which we work. So that was a relief for me. I was away and I was free, pretty much. I mean, I would never be like someone who's I'm very responsible and stuff like that. And first time I got drunk at 28, so and it's like something that really was keeping me up was that just being there and having my own time and getting along with the grandparents over there with their uncle and stuff. And yeah, that was joyful times. And I would definitely say that we didn't have much. We really didn't have much, but we had everything. And that's like love that's surrounded us in one way, and just roof on top of your head, food and table. One not clothes, but who cares? Still warm. Can warm
yeah,
you up. It's just a new pair of pants or sweater or whatever.
yeah, and that's what made us what we are today. We are very resourceful. Uh, in so many ways, we are. I feel like on my side, I don't know about Raiko, but I'm very frugal because of the way we grew up, and
You know
I
what?
frugal means stingy, cheap.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
frugal can, yeah, frugal you usually associate with being smart with your money in a way. And
Yeah.
we can thank our parents for that because, as we said, like materialistically, we didn't have a lot of those extras, but we did have all the essentials we needed, basically.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it was
And
interesting,
you
and we
know,
will go into detail about some of these things, for sure in the next few
I would
episodes.
say, yeah, I'd say that most of all, and most important thing of all, I would say that it was health. So we were having a very good and healthy diet. So we were not using any, like in our house, you we were not allowed to drink soda. They would always mix soda with water. We're not eating too many sweets. You would always get nuts or almonds or walnuts and stuff like that. Homemade
But I gotta,
cakes,
yeah.
homemade cooked foods.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was gonna say, when Raiko mentions no sodas thing, which is very interesting now to think about it, because now I sometimes crave soda, but it's very rarely, and it's because in Serbia it's very common to make your own syrups. So like homemade syrups, it's still sugar, it's still, you know,
Yeah.
not great for you, but what our parents made sure is that there's homemade syrups. You don't overindulge in these things. You're explained from very early on. You're kind of health conscious about certain things. And also, as Raiko said, like homemade cookies and cakes are far better than the processed crap that you get from the grocery store, or you get it from, uh, from any kind of like corner markets, whatever it is. So in that regard, we were extremely lucky, and
Yeah.
we both have friends that grew up with parents that never really cooked, and then they would come over to have lunch at our house, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing! This tastes so good!" Like, it was such a blessing that we never knew until we grew up. At least in
Yeah.
my opinion, I only realized how lucky we are to have some of this food when I was probably 17 or 18, when I saw my classmates and people then after that in university who were students eating stuff out of the can all the time, and then I would just come home and there would be like homemade food. It was amazing.
Yeah. So this like health actually reminded me of one very nice story that I read on. It actually has to do with University of British Columbia. So apparently, in Vancouver, they started in 2021 developing one 3D printing technique that was supposed to like help you out with certain diseases, and it would print out a tissue that would be like installed in your organism, probably in liver, in this is instance, where that tissue would produce insulin. So you would not get shots of insulin, but you would rather have that tissue that would produce insulin, and it would be one of the preventions, not the cure, but medications and treatment for diabetes, which I find very very interesting.
Yeah, and in short, just so you guys get some background, it's called Aspect Biosystems, a University of British Columbia spinoff, uses 3D printing to produce living tissue implants for curing diabetes and liver ailments. And they have struck a development deal with Danish drug giant Novo Nordisk. The deal, worth more than $2.6 billion, establishes Aspect as the latest star to emerge from British Columbia's biotech sector. And this is super interesting to us because we have people in our family. We had people in our family that passed away that dealt with diabetes. They dealt with these issues. And just to think that now, 20, like in our lifetime, that there's something that can be injected into your body that, as far as we know, is not toxic to you. Your body is not going to reject it. It can automatically regulate your diabetes. That is mind blowing, and it just makes
You
you
know,
think.
the thing that like I never put this into a perspective before I read an article that it was just when insulin was invented. I don't know when, I would say 60s or 70s. I'm not quite sure,
I'm
but
gonna look it up.
kids were kids were dying because of the diabetes. Like you would literally have kids dying, and it's unfortunately very tightly connected with processed industrialized food and processed sugar and stuff like that. But yeah, that's a total
We should
different beast.
continue this theme for maybe another episode in the future where I want to look it up because there's new studies that actually uh, that I read briefly. I'm not gonna claim that I know exactly what it is, but I read somewhere that diabetes is not actually directly related to sugar. It's more related to fats that you consume, and that's what throws off your that's what makes your insulin spike. Obviously, the sugars and carbohydrates have a major role once that happens, but in like why diabetes and pre-diabetic conditions start is because of certain fats, and that's something that might be interesting to explore down the road. But continue on Raiko's story is that I just looked it up. Insulin was discovered by Sir Frederick G. Banting, Charles H. Best, and J.J.R. MacLeod at the University of Toronto in 1921.
1921. Yeah, I just read it.
Yep.
So
So
yeah, it was a long time ago, but just imagine that. And you get to talk about antibiotics as well. People were dying because if they would just, I don't know, hit their head in on a branch,
yeah.
and that's it. And that's what I realized. I was reading, and the first patient that was actually cured had hit. I think he hit a head, and if he didn't get the antibiotic, he would die. But on the other hand, we are living in a world full of it. So it's just overconsumption, and our bodies are just becoming immune to that. So I don't know.
It,
Anyhow, so it's very
there's a
interesting.
there's an interesting debate we can have here. Um, what do you think? Were people living better, um,
Uh-huh.
like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or now? Like in a general sense of things.
So when we're talking about that pastime, like 100 years back, there's always one fun fact that pops to my mind. So back then, people would deal with amount of new information in a year as much in 1 year as we now deal in 1 day. So new information. I'm not saying like information input, but new information. So just that, just that simple little thing. So how many things you read. So if they were having better lives, I don't know. I would argue that's like a very broad topic. We can like talk about it uh, maybe some other time because it needs time. I mean, you have to look through the all of the aspects and everything. But from my perspective, I would say that people were happier. That's for sure. That's how I feel. So I don't know.
It's definitely, I'm just planting a seed for the future
Yeah.
episodes, that we can talk about it. It might be very interesting, and maybe we can talk to our next guest about these things. But the reason why I'm asking is because we're on the topic of medicine, and in a general sense, when you think about people 100, 150, 200 years ago, they would be dying in their 40s. Like if somebody made it to their 50s, 60s, they were old. Nowadays, it's a very common thing to live until your late 80s. Uh, you have, like, it used to be such a big deal, like if somebody was 100. Now I feel like I see somebody that's 105, 106 years old almost once a month, which is insane to me. Um, so in a general sense of health, I feel like it's only gonna be better to be alive as the years go on, and obviously there's so many things that counterbalance that. Like you have so many things that are going wrong, and they're getting worse in this world, but we'll leave that topic for another time. I just think it's very interesting, and I think there's a lot of things that affect that, and they directly impact you as parents and your children. So just something to think about for the future. Moving on, we have what, Raiko?
What do we have? We have two eyes, two arms. So
Let's talk about business. So uh, another segment that we want to have regularly on when Raiko and I are the only ones doing the podcast is business. And if you are in the West, so in the US or in Canada, uh, there are a lot of opportunities for people to start their own business. It seems so intimidating. It seems so difficult, and it is to some extent. But sometimes you just have to start. You just have to go, and that is something that people overlook a lot of the times, and they overthink, they overanalyze. When in reality, you should just do the first few steps, and everything else will be figured out along the way. Perfect example is Raiko because he started a business with his friends that
well,
from
I would
what
say if so two of my colleagues. So Nemanja Brkljača, I hope that we will make him come and be our guest at the podcast. He's also a dad. He just got his second son. It's 6 or 7 months ago. So if he didn't push me and he just literally came and he said, "Okay, this is the idea. Just go open up a company and restart." And boom, boom, it was all over in 14 days. I had a company on my name and we were starting and we didn't know anything about it. He has experience on this matter because he has a couple of businesses started and up and down and everything. And, but he's also like self-taught, I would say. And it was a struggle, but everything along the way was just setting settling down one by one thing, and just started working out. So we started that business before I got rookie, and it was just like a couple of days. No, it was a year before that, and it was very intense, I would say. Having a regular job, 9 to 5, and then just getting there, and it was a lot of work. But I would say that uh, things just
work out.
went even harder when you get a kid. So you have even less time available. So all that perspective just changes and shifts. So of course you're not aware that you have so much free time and that your life is not being so complicated before a kid, because everything else seems like a problem or like a challenge or whatever. And then when you get a kid, that becomes your focus, and you're not like in your life not the most important person anymore, or your spouse or your parents or whatever. You have a kid, and that shift. So I was I started getting up very early before they would wake up, him and my wife, and so I had to do it that way, you know. And you just have to find new ways of working around.
So what would be your uh, a quick advice for dads that want to start a business, or if they want to improve in any aspect, if they want to be better at their job, or if they want to start working out, like what is the number one thing you would tell them to do?
So yeah, when I talk about these things, I always like to say that you just first have to get inside your head and inside yourself and figure out and get to know yourself. And when you are having that pretty good picture of you, then you can go and build something. So you need something that drives you. And if you have an idea, if you have something that you uh, truly love and believe in something, go for it. Just go for it. And even if you fail, you're not going to be like, I'm not saying sell a house and then invest in that prototype that you always wanted to make. I'm not saying that, but give 110% of yourself, find that extra space and see if it works out. Keep your, of course, your secure job and your life on the side, but have that extra time and just indulge. But you have to give like all in. Other ways, it's not going to work. So yeah, that's pretty much that's it. Like get to know yourself and then go follow your dreams and just start. Everything else will follow up if you have will.
And that always reminds me whenever the theme of I want to start something, I want to do something. I always remember David Chang. He's a very famous chef that comes from New York City, and I used to listen to his podcast all the time. He's a great chef, a great speaker. He is also a dad. Just overall an awesome dude. And one thing that I always remember about him is he always used to say, "Fail fast to succeed faster." The faster you fail, the faster you're going to learn from those mistakes, from those fails, and you're going to achieve what you're looking for much faster. And people are so afraid of failure, and people always get looked down upon and talked down because they failed something. But in reality, you should be happy because you're like, oh, I'm over this hump that's holding me back,
That
and
is a
that can be,
lesson.
yeah, that is a lesson, and you will proceed and you will progress much faster than people that don't even take a risk. They don't even want to
Yeah,
fail, right?
yeah.
So, in short,
I don't,
start it, do it. All the roadblocks you
yeah,
have, you will figure it out along the way.
yeah. It just comes up naturally. And I wouldn't say that you should aim to fail. Um, I'm just right now reading very interesting book. I actually listened to it and I'm going to read it. Discipline Equals Freedom, Field Manual by Jocko Willink. And he's a former Navy and he was in Iraq, I think. And he's talking about, you should fear failure to that point that you just don't want to fail, you don't give yourself an option to fail. But so here it's not about like never failing. And then if you fail, you just get disappointed. No, you're trying your best not to fail. You will fail. I mean, that's part of life. You will have ups and downs and everything, but it's just, you gotta work it out and you gotta keep pushing. And it doesn't matter how hard you fall, but how hard you bounce back.
Yep. And that will bring us to a next segment that is extremely interesting. It's the topic of AI, and while we're on the side of business, it is very interesting because Raiko brought to my attention that we now have artificial intelligence recruiters. So,
Yeah.
not people hunting you on LinkedIn, not people looking for people online. This is going to be an algorithm that's going to basically sift through candidates that apply, and they will automatically pick the most valuable or compatible
Yeah.
candidates.
The most
Um,
compatible. Yeah.
which is there's so many things to talk about here, and maybe we make AI something that we talk about on every podcast because it's affecting every
Well,
single industry.
that's like AI is the next big thing. And, people who are resenting it will have very big problem, very hard time because they're not adapting. And you just gotta indulge it, like, for example, like the clear example, I we were talking, what I'm going to talk this podcast, and we had troubles, and I popped up in my mind that cure for diabetes and 3D printing, and I looked it online, to find an article, and Nikola was like, "Oh yeah, let me put it in the Chat GPT and just get the substract of it." I'm like, there you go. You don't have to read through the whole thing. I made a couple of my cover letters in ChatGPT for positions that I applied here. And trust me, it's nothing easier than that. You just pop in one sentence, and there it goes. In 30 seconds, you get it. And other ways, I would just spend hour and a half because I like it to be,
Detailed and
knowledgeable, detailed, and has a vocabulary and everything. This thing just boom, there you go, and just gotta use that. But which direction it's gonna go, we can't predict that.
yeah, and
What do
and
you think? What do you think about AI in general?
I think that there are many things that can go wrong. There are many things that can go right. The big corporations are already doing their best to have a monopoly, which is like anything, right? So my point of view is if you can't do anything about it, just utilize it to the best of its abilities. The perfect example is, the company that I work uh, for the last month and a half, the CEOs are encouraging people to use it. There's no
Yep,
shame in it. They know that there's going to be a benefit to everybody, because
absolutely. Yeah,
because in manual tasks I can do, let's say we each task takes me 10 minutes, right? I can do 6 tasks in an hour. With ChatGPT or whatever AI platform, I can
15 minutes,
I
not
can
even that.
probably do it in 15 minutes. I can probably do it in
Yep.
10 minutes, which in a way, it might seem counterproductive to you as a worker because you're like, well, then what am I going to do? Right? They're going to get rid of me
So
or this and
yeah,
that. But
that is a
if you're
big issue, because people are afraid of losing jobs and everything, and that has to be regulated and
but
stuff like that. But
the people that are going to lose jobs are people that were expandable by software in the first place, right? And
yeah, but on the other hand, the technology is advancing so quick that, for example, when we were young, I would say when I was young, uh, top 10 jobs at that moment are nine of them are not existing anymore.
yeah, yeah, we
So
talked about
nine
that
of them
too.
are not even existing. Like
Yeah.
you are now raising your kid for future that you don't know what is gonna be like.
Yeah, it is pretty mind blowing how everything involves. But and I agree with you. It is dangerous. It should be regulated in certain ways, um, because
It will take a lot of time.
yeah, yeah, and that's probably why there's so many. I mean, we're probably gonna see huge layoffs in tech industry soon,
Well, we
uh,
already went through that.
but uh, there is going to be a lot of shifts in all the industries, and I think that industries that are adapting it now, they're going to see a great benefit from it. And unfortunately, a lot of small businesses, a lot of mom and pop shops, a lot of just small players that don't jump on it early on, they're just gonna be wiped.
But
And
they can also benefit from it.
oh
Like
yes, yes,
imagine for example, you have a small business and you need a content writer. You don't have to pay for it anymore. You just go AI and just write down what you need. Write me down this and that, and he will just generate things, and you will find, if not a solution, you will find some inspiration. So myself, I consider myself very descriptive, and I like doing that. But now with this, why bother? I mean, on the other hand, there's you lose that human touch and everything, and this and that. But it is what it is. But there's one guy, and I think he's from Poland or something like that. So he just made a no, I'm lying. He's from Ukraine. Uh, he just made a Chrome extension. He's not even like a programmer, or how do you call it, software developer. He's not
yeah,
even a software developer. He wrote a code for Google extension, and sold it for $10,000. And he doesn't know how to code. He just write down in ChatGPT, do me this, do me that, change this, change that. And he said he spent 10 hours on it, fine tuning it. But 10 hours, $10,000
Yep.
with zero knowledge. Null, nulla,
Yeah.
molto
If you have
corrompere.
a if you have if you have a brain for exploration, and if you're willing to dive into new things, it certainly is incredible what it can do.
Yeah.
And
All right.
now that I
So
think about it, we definitely need to make this a segment that we talk about pretty often on the show.
yeah, well, that's like something that's going to be part of our all of our lives. And deep fake technology, dude, that's great. But we'll leave it for the next time. Now, I think it's time to wrap it up and kind of close this third episode of our podcast. Um, so, just before we dive into this closing minutes. I would just like to remind my dear brother that he missed on dad joke time. He owes us a dad
Oh
joke,
no,
so think about it.
no, I didn't.
And
No, I didn't.
you just looked up for the dad joke, and
No,
I
no.
know
This is a joke I've been telling Constantine for 4 years. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What do you call an alligator with a vest on?
Alligator?
An investigator.
That's a good one. Oh my god.
We used to scream. We used to scream about that joke across the house. Probably like four
Yeah.
years ago. An
And,
investigator, he used to say.
I would imagine him running around the house, pissed off, like, stop asking me that. Stop repeating that stupid joke.
Yeah, but don't worry, I didn't forget. I was just very invested in what we were talking about. Um,
Yeah,
I was investigated,
yeah.
uh, but yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed. Raiko, let's have you give somebody your one of your top.
I I already gave an advice in this episode.
What was it?
What was that? It was when you start a business, you have to do the Karen voice.
So this is the voice that Raiko likes me to do, and I act like a white girl. My name is Jennifer, and
Jennifer.
I am a single mom of three. And my best advice for other moms out there, um, is that just treat yourself, girl. Like, just do it. Like, from time to time, you just need to like treat yourself.
Relax.
Jokes aside, uh, the advice, even though I made a joke out of it, it is very important, because something that for the longest time I couldn't do for myself is I couldn't give myself a break. I couldn't let myself have 5 minutes to myself without
Yeah,
boring. This is something that my wife actually slowly taught me how to do, and just tell me to pump the brakes.
I still
And that
can't do it.
it's extremely hard. I still struggle with it every time. But she sees it and she just tells me, uh, it might be something as simple as, why don't you go to the store and just look around and see if you find something interesting. It can be as something as simple as that, to distract me for 20 minutes and just to bring me down and level me out to a point where, hey, I'm gonna buy, I don't know, uh, this this little piece of technology, whatever it is. It can be the smallest little thing, and I love technology, so that's something that she always points out to me. It can be a new mouse pad, like something as silly as that, and I can validate myself and be like, hey, I deserve to get this. I'm okay taking some time for myself, I don't have to worry about
Maybe not.
her.
Or you to give your time for yourself.
You're right. We're dads. We don't get
Or
that.
you, or you to treat
Cut
yourself.
that. Cut that. Cut that. Don't worry about it. I never said anything. We're gonna cut the podcast right now. But
Cool.
yeah, but yeah, I'm not gonna keep talking and talking about it. But just treat yourself in the nicest way possible. Do something for yourself. It's gonna help you progress into better things.
So start the
Because
podcast right now. Oh yeah. Poke you in the eye.
But we hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys extremely soon because we plan on having these episodes come out only a few days apart, if not every day. We will see how our rhythm goes
Slow down
because
the tigers. Just slow down a little bit, okay? We're not gonna
um,
read
don't listen
them.
to this
Easy.
guy right here because if you think small, you're never gonna um, do anything big, So
Hmm.
big.
Philosopher Mr. Nikola, third century BC. Correct. So yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for bearing here with us. Please give us your feedback. We are really in need of that because we want to hear how you guys like it and what do you think we could be changing. And also, we are very, very open for conversation and hearing opinions. We don't necessarily want to hear everybody agreeing on this podcast with us. On contrary, we would love to hear people who are thinking different. So we have one fan that's kind of I would say, not very approval of the podcast, Nicola's friend. And this way, I'm trying to, just see if he can join us because that would provide a little bit of nice environment for talking and a lot of different points of view. So yeah, if you have a different point of view or you agree on something with us, please give us a comment or just reach out. So we would love to hear back from.
Or send us an email at fatherlylovepodcast@gmail.com so we can see your stories, we can see your opinions, and we can talk about it.
Yeah. All
So
right.
until the next time, have a wonderful night, day, morning, whenever you're listening to this, and we will see you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye bye.